Sorry. All right. Like I was saying, this is being recorded. If you don't want to be recorded or participate in any of the recordings, just let me know. Please stay connected. You guys signed up, most of you, through Bevy, through the user group stuff. So you'll get notifications the next time we publish an event. We also have a Mop Slack channel, which I'd love to have you to. We got like 150 people in there. It's fun. I know Sam's done some stuff in there. It's a good group to ask questions. Marketing focused, Marketo focused. It's a good group of people. Okay, here's some Adobe stuff. They have their big summit coming up. They also host lots of forums. They have some insider tours. These will be in the slides that I'll send out. Not too worried about it. They have some free classes. They have all the things. They have some upcoming user groups. So, for instance, if you'll be in Japan next week, there's an in-person one there. Not quite sure how that's relevant to us, but they would like me to tell you that there's one in Japan next week. If you are an Adobe customer, they're currently offering some gift cards for reviews on G2 or Trust Radius. Take advantage of those if you'd like. All right, so what are my goals for you today? I think a lot of us have weird hobbies, right? I'll talk about one of mine later. And you tend to like find a person that has that same hobby, and then you can talk to them about it. Me and Vanessa earlier were talking about Formula One. And when you have that one buddy that's into the same hobby, you can talk about that stuff. So hopefully today you can make at least one connection that you can talk about AI stuff with. Hopefully through our speakers, you'll see more than, but at least 3 interesting AI use cases. I'd love for you to write down one idea you can take back to your company, figure out how can I apply this to what we have going on. And then lastly, I'm not sure where you are with AI stuff, but if you haven't gotten started yet, maybe today's session can get you over the fear of not knowing where to start or how to start. All right, sponsors for today. One, shout out Pattern. Thank you for the Pattern employees and us having a spot for us. That's great. Shout out to Maddie. She's the one who set up all the tables and chairs and all this stuff. She's our awesome kind of assistant for the building. And then also we have Mobley here today. So they've provided snacks. I'll invite them up here shortly. Just quick testimonial on them. I've used Mobley at 2 companies, and I've known the founders over there for about 3 years. Their products come a long way, and they just do a ton to help solve the headache that comes with being at in-person trade shows, scanning those events, getting them into your marketing and sales follow-up softwares. It really just, I haven't touched an Excel sheet with, scans from an event in, 3 years now, which is awesome. So with that, I'll invite John and Jesse up here to tell us a little bit more about Mobley. Thanks, guys.
Okay, this is the second most important thing you'll see today. This is the QR code to get entered into the $100 Amazon gift card raffle that will happen at the end of the presentation. A little closer. Okay, is that better? Yeah, so $100 gift card. It is present, so it's not like you might win. It's someone that is here will win the $100 gift card. And in typical marketing fashion, it is asking for an email, but other than that, it's an option. Oh, your name is covering it. Does it still work? Okay. And Mobley. So John, actually both of us are not from a sales team, so we're not here to specifically sell you on it, but being that we're marketing adjacent, obviously we're going to be talking about it. So John is our senior manager of demand gen, and I'm over RevOps and implementation, so I help our new customers get onboarded. But go ahead and take over, John. Did everybody get that wants to get entered? Like, if you don't want $100, that's fine. But
okay, cool. So in summary, we help go-to-market teams get more out of in-person events. Thomas mentioned the simplest form of that is just having one badge scanner for every trade show you go to across the globe. But I'm going to kind of hit on this from the demand side of things and how we approach it from that direction. So for pretty much all events, the main goal that we're trying to solve is helping people standardize how they get data into their systems. Whenever you go from event to event and you're just renting the default badge scanners, they're not integrated to everything. You can't customize what you're asking prospects on the trade show floor, and it's just very limited. So Mobley is used at any event. All you can do is take a photo of a badge, a business card, whatever. You just need a first name, last name, and then a company. And then we'll grab that contact information, and it's just all on a mobile app. And then you can capture intent. So the way we do this is usually with pick list values. So when you talk to someone, you can set this up however you want. But as you walk through the conversation, you might want to ask and gauge what product they're interested in, what follow-up would be the most beneficial, etc. And all that can be inputted into the product, into the app. And then we enrich and sync every single lead with an email and contact information. And the moment it's enriched, it syncs with your CRM or your map so that it's already there, ready to go. And it's the same across every single event. So standardizing the way you get it in there. So why this matters is because digitally, we are very robust. My background is in paid media, and you can do a lot there with segmentation, with website intent, with UTM, so much data that you're capturing. But with in-person, we're still just using business cards, and we're not customizing anything when it comes to the follow-up. So I won't bore you with the details of this diagram, but it's really just illustrating the flow of digital go-to-market versus what in-person go-to-market can be like. And the missing piece for so many companies is just standardizing how they're getting data into the systems. So really, when someone visits your website, the identical version of that in person is they walk up to your booth or they show up to your dinner. And then as you talk to them, you're identifying them, you learn about their name, their company, and then you gauge whatever interests they have. And all this can be structured into the Mobley app so that after the event, you have all the data you need formatted in whatever field you need so that you can segment and follow up, and they're not just all getting one generic message 2 weeks later, but rather right away. Wrong one. Okay. I'm going to pass it over to Jesse.
So this has been my life for the past 6 years. Previous to Mobley was the rest of the team goes to events, and then you're there on standby for as soon as you get the CSV, and you're having to dedupe it, clean it up, append fields wherever you can, get it into the CRM, and then hope that someone follows up with it at some point. It's really gross. You get a lot of people that they don't even make it into the CRM because it's like a business card, and then the SDR is like, "Oh yeah, I'll totally remember," and then they don't. And so this standardizes all that process. So if it's a business card, you can scan it. If it's a badge, you can scan it. All you need is name and email, and Mobley will do the rest. And so we've taken it from that approach to instant contact creation. When there's a scan, it enriches, goes to Marketo. You can attribute it to the events. And then for us that are more on the ops side, we determine what happens with those. Do we want to send them a marketing email right away? Do they go over to an SDR? What happens with it? So it makes everything just so much easier, and no more spreadsheets. Like as Thomas said, he hasn't had to deal with a CSV after an event in a couple of years, and that's probably my favorite part of my job is not spreadsheets.
Cool. That's it. Short and sweet. We're going to hang out, but we'll do the raffle, I think, at the end. So we'll check back in there.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So in some events, the badge the event gives the person as a QR code will always scan that as well.
So yeah.
Maybe repeat the question just so everyone.
Yeah, he's asking a lot of events, they'll have a registration list and the QR code just syncs to that. And there's an event API, you can tap into that. So we actually just grab the first name and the last name using optical character recognition, fancy acronym OCR, and it just grabs that contact information and the company name. And then we enrich ourselves through our own enrichment process. Reason being is people sign up for events with bogus data often because they're going to get marketed to. So we will always rely on our own enrichment process for that reason, because we believe it provides better data than someone submitting it and they might not want to be marketed to. In terms of also providing the option, if you did want to rely on the event API and their registration data, in that case, scanning the QR code. I don't remember if we have that already available, but yeah, it's coming very soon because we do have some people that want the option between both. So good question.
And if you wanted to get entered into the raffle, but weren't able to, just come to me in the back and make sure you get entered. Oh, that one's on ours.
Any other questions? Cool.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, thanks, y'all. A couple additional points I would add on Mobley stuff. I've integrated them with Marketo and HubSpot both. Works very well with both systems. Very customizable. Another thing we do is we tie Salesforce campaign data directly to the Mobley event. So I don't touch it. When a person scans it, it enriches through Mobley, it shows up in Marketo, it gets synced to Salesforce, and it's automatically in the Salesforce campaign if everything worked, right? So it's very cool, very hands-off kind of post-event follow-up. It's very neat. All right. Next, I'd like to invite up Jeremy. Jeremy Mumford, he is our lead AI engineer here at Pattern. Anything that I talk about later today is just little breadcrumbs of things I've learned from Jeremy. So soak up all that you can. His AI knowledge is awesome, and he's been doing great things here at Pattern. So, Jeremy, welcome up.
Well, that was a really nice introduction. I do know a lot about AI, but I don't know anything about Marketo or marketing. So I think hopefully what I have to share with you today is useful. But I am excited to speak with you guys today and share what knowledge I do have, a little bit about myself. I'm Jeremy. I have a lot of interests in things that I do. I like skiing in the winter, canyoneering in the summer. I got married a couple of years ago. I love speaking and engaging with the Utah community. And when I was in college, I did a lot of research and studying around the world of AI. This is my thesis on deepfakes. And I really just love the world of AI and all the opportunities and it's just interesting things that it has going on with it. Now, Thomas introduced me as an AI engineer. What the heck is that? The way I like to think of it is think like a data scientist, build like a software engineer. My role is to build stuff, but build it in the context of AI. And as a result of that, I do a lot of talking with people around the organization, and I get to engage with a little bit of everyone, which is fun. I get to do some work with Thomas and with our HR team and our sales team, just the whole company. So it's kind of funny how what I studied has ended up touching everything. Now, Thomas, I was like, Thomas, what do you want me to talk about? And he was like, I don't know, man, just talk about like AI and kind of just like some stuff they might find interesting and how it would, connect with any of them. So I was like, all right. So I was like, let me start out with something really crazy to just kind of get people kind of energized, which is the singularity. What is the singularity? The first time I heard this question was actually at Adobe. We're doing Adobe Marketo. This is me as a young lad. You can laugh. This is a great mirror selfie. And when I was young, my uncle took me to Adobe because he worked there at the time. And there was some sort of tech event, and someone was speaking, and they asked that same question. They said, what is the singularity? Now, has anybody here ever heard of the singularity? Can anybody answer that question? What's that? That's a good guess. I think, singularities, that term is also used with black holes. But in the context of AI, it has a somewhat different meaning. This is a paper written in 1966, speculations concerning the first ultra-intelligent machine. A machine that can far surpass all intellectual activities. The idea is the ultra-intelligent machine could design even better machines, creating an intelligence explosion. So basically a machine building a newer version of itself. The intelligence of man would be left far behind. Therefore, the first ultra-intelligent machine is the last invention that man would ever need to make. This idea eventually became captured in the word singularity, how to survive in the post-human era. And various books were written about it. This guy predicted that the singularity, the intelligence explosion, would happen in the year 2045, which is getting kind of close. But the fundamental idea is recursive self-improvement. You have your current AI model, and you ask it to build a better version of itself. Now, what the heck does this have to do with us? Well, this is no longer science fiction. This is happening today. This is a tweet from a couple of weeks ago. Anthropic had released a new product called Claude Coworkers, and someone asked, how much of it did AI build and how much of it was human built? And they said it was pretty much all built by AI. So AI was building its own systems, its own tools, everything. And this is really cool. We're kind of in the dial-up era of recursive, self-improving AI. We have all these exciting AI tools at our fingertips, and it's kind of has the vibe of the early day eras of the internet. It's really exciting time to be alive. This is a fun graph of how long an AI can autonomously operate on its own to complete a task if it wanted to build a better version of itself. You can see here that AI models are slowly improving along this axis of how long they can just autonomously operate on their own. Now, the question is, how can you leverage recursive AI today in the context of Marketo and marketing and all these other important things? And that's what I'm here to answer today. We're talking specifically about ChatGPT, N8N, in combination with Marketo. And Thomas said, talk about N8N, so we're going to talk about it. No code has returned with a vengeance. This is what everyone in Pattern is staring at right now. This is the canvas of N8N. It's a no-code editor that allows you to rapidly build automations that integrate with hundreds of different systems. And if there isn't a out-of-the-box integration that exists for your system, like Marketo, you can build your own. And the cool part is AI agents are bridging the gap where no-code tools failed in the past. So it's really exciting to see what people are building. Now, this is a nice little screenshot I stole from N8N's website. A more real-world example of one that I built a couple of weeks ago looks like this, much uglier. This is a real-world AI agent that we whipped together. We had an offsite where our leadership went to India for 3 weeks. And they wanted to have an AI agent that could answer any question related to this offsite. So what we did was we had it hooked up to Slack, and it would look at the user, and then the AI agent had access to over a dozen different Google Sheets that it could search across to find information to answer the user's query, and then it would respond in Slack. This is kind of the core idea of N8N, is stitching together different systems and building automations around them. Now, of course, theory always meets reality. Here's a screenshot of me asking the bot a question: when does my manager get back to the US of A? And it answers the question. And at first, I was like, this looks great. And then I go, oh no, this other person said that was wrong. It was 11:30 a.m. today when they flew in. Melty face. So sad. But then he jumps in. He says, actually, it was talking in India time, not US time. So the bot was right. But I think this illustrates the difficulty of building AI systems is sometimes there's just little things we don't account for. So as you're building out AI systems, it requires a lot of testing and iteration. The days of like building software once and releasing it and it works are over, because now we're building AI systems that are much fuzzier and more powerful, but they can work on the first time, and then on the second or third time they get something like this and you have to go back and fix it. Now, let's talk about the recursive AI, the singularity in N8N, building AI with AI. They have this. They have a built-in AI assistant where you can just ask it to build your workflow, and it does it. Pretty cool. So I won't spend too much time diving into the nuances of it, but I just kind of want to give you guys a taste of what's out there. At Pattern, we are using N8N in many different ways. Legal's using it, HR is using it, sales is using it, marketing is using it, accounting, our brand managers. People are grabbing Zoom meetings and summarizing them. They've got travel AI agent coordinators, AI agents to answer questions about AI. I mean, like, the rabbit hole just gets deeper and deeper with these AI things. So there's just so many different ways you can build it, and hopefully this gives you a little inspiration on how you can do things with AI. And you can do these things in N8N, and then there's 100 other tools that do the exact same thing. There's other orchestration and automation tools in whatever platform you're looking at. So we're talking about N8N right now, but you can look at this and think of ideas for other things. Some technical mumbo jumbo. You can take a picture of this if you want. If you're like, this N8N thing sounds cool. Maybe I want to do this at my organization. Some notes from our experience. You can do self-hosting, or you can do cloud. So I'll leave that up for a sec. Take a picture of it. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me over LinkedIn. Happy to chit chat. So cool. I just have to have AI build a bunch of N8N AI agents to market to humans. Easy peasy. Not quite. Because now we're in the age of marketing to AI. the rise of generative engine optimization. Now, I wanted to just kind of sprinkle in a little bit of GEO before I wrapped up today because I thought I'm under the impression that you guys are marketing people. Yeah, Marketo marketing. So I thought this might be a little bit relevant. Maybe you guys have already heard of GEO, maybe you haven't. But this is something we're talking about a lot at Pattern. By 2030, we estimate 15 to 25% of all U.S. e-commerce transactions will be initiated via AI agents. 300 billion to 500 billion market segment shift that did not exist 3 years ago. Product discovery is changing. I think we're all very familiar with web search, e-commerce search. Many of us were probably just adjusting to social discovery with Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, but we're changing again. AI-driven and generative discovery. So another shift is happening, which is exciting. Now, we've done some analysis on this, and it seems like Google and Amazon have really started to plateau. But there's huge increases in people visiting these AI agents and researching through those even more. And I think we're all well aware of all the shifts that are happening. We're all seeing the headlines and the announcements from these companies of everyone's investing in agentic commerce. This is the slide I stole from someone else. I'm not going to go through all of it, but I think it kind of gives a idea of the massive scope of agentic commerce across many different platforms. Again, feel free to snap a picture of that one and peruse it later. But the idea is that this is happening everywhere, and it's not going away. Now, the reason I'm talking and thinking so much about Geo Scorecard is because I help run our GEO scorecard. I'm not promoting it. I'm not saying you need to use it. I'm just saying I think about GEO a lot. And I think about marketing to AI. SEO basically meant Google, but the Google search algorithm is dead or it's evolving into an AI. Discovery used to be a one-step process. Now it's a three-step process. And you can monitor and optimize for each of those steps. Old school SEO is back, and so is new school SEO. FAQs, more content using AI to write for AI. I can feel my voice going, so I'm going to wrap up. Other stuff you can ask me about if you want to reach out to me on LinkedIn. These are all things that I think about on a daily basis. If your company is thinking about any of these things and you have questions around them, I love to just chat. My advice is free. I'm a total yapper, so please reach out to me. Happy to talk more. But I hope you guys have a really great presentation today. Thomas and who's the other presenter? Liam. Liam are just both brilliant guys, so I hope you pay attention to them. They have some really good stuff to share with you, so thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Jeremy. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. Liam, I got you here on the screen. Feel free to go ahead and start sharing and take it away.
Perfect. Perfect. And just to make sure everyone can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Well, it's nice to meet everyone. I apologize for being remote. I know it's not as fun as in person, Jeremy, and what a lead up. He is a yapper, so be careful on hitting him up for talking to him. I'm on the sales team. I'm a inside sales representative, and I help identify potential brand partnerships here at Pattern. We like to present a high level of I guess, presence in a consulting sort of way in our outreach as sales reps. And what that means in a basic sense is Pattern scrapes a lot of data, and we like to be helpful when we reach out to potential brand partners. So with that being said, here's how AI has been impactful for me in FY25. So last year, I achieved 300% more efficiency gains with workflow automations. Basically, what that means is what would take me 3 weeks out of any given month has been taken into AI's hands, and it does it better than I can with a level of granularity that I can't afford to give every one of my accounts. Further, half of my net new pipeline that I've generated is through AI emails or touch points that were helped in part and created by AI. And then, this has helped me and my VP achieve the biggest book of prospecting accounts. And that can be overwhelming at times. And I think it's really important that the experience for the prospect is also improved through AI. So even though I have a larger book of accounts to email and reach out to, they receive more personalized emails and better insights through my communication. So it's almost a measure to make sure that it's not too overwhelming for the brand side either. So here's some AI use cases that I've unveiled over the past year, especially. So automate targeted outreach. I now have the ability to create agents or bots that will create the right message and make sure that it's getting to the right person. So I have a contact base that it's being scraped. The titles of those contacts are being evaluated to determine if the email that I would like to send should be sent to that person or someone else. Um, and then those emails need to be usually replied to in some way. That's just part of the nature of cold outreach. They're not going to reply to the first email. So I also have an end-to-end workflow that helps me personalize the email replies at scale, make sure that I don't have any slip through the cracks. Further, every sales rep's favorite thing to do, update Salesforce. I have a agent that also will open up a Chrome tab for me and update some fields in Salesforce for me while I work on something else, or it might even run overnight, and then I'll come up and I'll wake up and a lot of that will be done. I just have to make sure that it's good to go. And then another thing is Salesforce is our single source of truth, especially on the sales side. But how often do you run into bad email addresses, legitimate email addresses that maybe you're not sure if that's the right one or not? And then, like, how do you keep track of yeah, is it a good phone number? Is it a good email address? I have AI calls that help me organize all of that. And then obviously manage a large book of efficiency, large book account book efficiently. I think as a marketing audience, you'd be excited to hear about another use case that I've found, which is identifying new accounts to prospect from trade show scrapes. So I'll get into that in a bit. So, where to start? I have no technical background. I consult with ChatGPT on all of my projects. So, building any of these use cases, I go into the chat mode in ChatGPT and I'll just talk with it. I'll just say, hey, is this possible? Because here's a task that I'm running into. Here's that requires a little bit of thinking in that task. Is it possible to automate this? And can I use AI calls to use to give me some of the reasoning that I would otherwise have to do manually? And then have a place that you figure out what an API key is. Have a place to store your credentials, whether that's on your computer, whether that's in an N8N or a platform of your choosing. For me, one of my go-to methods for building scripts and a lot of these bots is Cursor. Cursor is great. It'll iterate on itself as you build more things. And then, yeah, be comfortable with not having it be the perfect on your first go. Once AI has helped you create a tool, have some expectation that you're going to have to go in and coach it a little bit more to make it yours. So finally, the most important thing that I would like to stress is you can't build these processes or prompt out these big tools unless you're organized. Regardless of the platform that you use, I recommend having your data organized in a Google Sheet because it's the easiest to access. I think that many of the platforms have native connections in as well. It's my platform of choice. Here's some examples of the within a Google Sheet. I'm able to use AI calls and I'll use Google Apps scripts to create some of this stuff, but I'll use Google AI calls to determine if the company is public or private. I can't find that in Salesforce natively. I'll also have it summarize the prospecting activity I've done in that account for the last month. So who did I contact? What did I email them about? Did I get any replies? And then simplified messaging metrics. And what that means is, I guess, these check boxes. So, like, we have a Disney event coming up. Did I send them an invite? Did I send an account an invite? If so, check the box. If not, leave it unchecked. So that way I can filter down to see who I've reached out to or not. And then at a contact level, I have columns that I'm able to track email deliverability for a contact. So what that would mean is I have a simple Google app scripts, which will go into, and you can also build an end-to-end flow for this. Lots of ways to skin this cat, but pull in from your inbox any undeliverable emails that you get, and then figure out which email address was undeliverable, and then mark that as such in your Google Sheet so that you don't reach out to them again, which would impact your email deliverability score and also your time. You don't want to be sending emails to people who aren't going to be opening them because you have a bad email address for them. And then finally, like track messaging content in sent emails. So that's simple. Like, what did I send and what was in it? Here's some screenshots of a nice Google sheet that I've made all pretty. Basically, this helps me track at a more in-depth level than Salesforce can. What is my account health? So I can see how many contacts have a bad email address, how many contacts have a good email address, what have they um, what what have they resonated with? What have they replied to? I can filter how many accounts do I have that haven't been invited to a certain event. And these are things that I can't always do in Salesforce, so it's helpful to have AI help me track it at a finer level. And then let's see if this loads here. Uh, so here's an example of a regular task that I would have run overnight. This will go into a pattern report system. Maybe you use Tableau, but in this case, we like to share scorecards with brands. And so it takes a little bit of manual effort to look up the brand, get the scorecard, take the screenshot, and then put that into an email. But this will run overnight on my computer. And it actually just uses open source tools such as Puppeteer, which ChatGPT and all of the LLMs are very familiar with using. You would just need to tell them about your use case and why you need to navigate a Chrome tab, and you can easily build this out. But essentially, what this is doing is going account by account, taking a screenshot of a scorecard or a report within Patterns little dashboard, and then putting that into a Google Sheet so that I can then have an automated bot create an email for it based on whatever their score is. And then here's an example of what some of those pre-made emails look like. You'll see like the prospect gets invited to an event, and you'll have Gemini create a sentence like you have opportunities to improve in X and Y, and we'd love to walk you through it, get your thoughts. And then here's those screenshots that I had the automated bot go and fetch with a written explanation on what they're seeing in the screenshot. And then I will show you a little bit about, I mentioned that I use N8N as a tool for email replies. And so what this does is it'll get a certain number of emails, and then it will simultaneously go into my Google Sheet. It will pull the contact tab that I have. It will take in the contacts with good email addresses and bad ones. It will filter out the bad email addresses. And then once we have just email addresses that were legitimate, it will go to a bot that will determine what kind of reply should they receive. Should they get something that's extra personalized? Should they get something that's based on a holiday that just passed? What should they get a reply to? And then it will go to the respective agents, and then those agents will create a reply and they will put it into my inbox or into my draft box. And then I will get a updated email that will look like this. Such it's a daily outreach summary, and I'll be able to see which drafts were created successfully, which drafts weren't. Let's see, so one failed draft here, and then this is just a simple link to go to the person, and I can see the reply that was created. So think I might have deleted that one already. Um, so yeah, that's just an example of how I use N8N in tandem with Cursor. Cursor is the one that's best used for scraping websites and taking screenshots in my opinion. And then I'll also go into a good marketing use case as well. Um, so just like I'm sure every other company does, we go to trade shows. Trade shows typically have scrapes where they'll show you what companies are going to be at the trade show. As a sales rep, I'd like to determine which of those companies would make for a good partner. And I know a lot of the filters that I would need to view that. And so in this case, I have a script that will go into a third party software that we license. It will pull in like revenue that they've had in the last month, the last 12 months, the average sales price of their Amazon products. And then through that, I can filter down, like, let's say, I need brands that are over a certain revenue amount to target or that are sold by a certain competitor, then I can absolutely choose those accounts to talk to at the trade show or filter out the ones that I don't want to talk to. And then so to sum it up, what I use today is ChatGPT to plan a project. In my experience, it is the most well versed in ideating, and I love their feature that allows you to talk to it as if it's a real person. And then I use Cursor and Claude to build the project once I have an idea for how I want to go about it. And then I will have those run on uh, native Google Suite, N8N, or my Mac terminal, like you have seen. Uh, Interesting update, just like Jeremy had mentioned. I think that the future of these automations, whether you're in sales, marketing, or anywhere else, it's going to be something like a Claude Cowork. A Claude Cowork already kind of mimics, if not achieves better than my scripts can, a lot of the use cases that I've been able to solve for using my terminal. So Claude Cowork is a shining star, and I think it'll be the next wave for sure. And with that, I'll hand it over to Thomas.
Thank you, Liam. Lots of clapping here in the room. Any questions for Liam? He went through a lot there. I know I was trying to keep up. Any specific questions on some of the things he shared?
Yeah, that's great. That's pretty good for a salesman. That was awesome. That's a lot.
Here, I think I'll have to relay the question through the mic.
Okay.
Yeah, Thomas, if you can relay it, I can't hear it.
Yeah, for sure. So he was asking, how do you get to a certain confidence level?
Yeah, like for example, he has that straight for the band, it's contact with the band. Like if it did 1,000, how do you feel confident that put it all correct?
Yeah, so confidence level kind of in it with it scraping data that it did it correctly or didn't hallucinate or those sorts of issues you might have run into.
Yeah. So that's a great question. I, of course, have to double check everything that AI touches. I will watch at least the first couple runs of any tool that I have built to make sure that I've ironed out the the heartache. I think in my case, it's a little bit better if I I like to move quicker. So for me, it's different incentives. As a marketing person, if you're doing a show scrape and you're going and you're wanting to validate like revenue numbers for a brand or an account that is going to be at a trade show, as a marketing person, you're going to want that to be pretty accurate. And so I think you're going to have a lot more fail safes to make sure that that's in place. Whereas for me, it's about the speed because I would like to be first to realize that this is an account that I want to target and reach out to. And so once my tool has run, I will look through the results, and if it's very easy for me to tell if there's an outlier that does not make sense, and I will validate that manually. Um, but I would say so. There's a number of things that I use in my prompt. I built that on Cursor. Uh, so there's a number of things that I'll say to ensure that it doesn't give me false data. So for for example, when you're looking into that third-party tool, that script, if the account name in the Google Sheet doesn't pull up anything, it will run through three different iterations. But Gemini will create those different iterations. So like let's say it looks up account name Apple, but Apple doesn't pull back anything. So maybe I'm looking for Apple Electronics. So Gemini will have a very strict set of prompting to create those next variations. And then if you wanted, you could have a column on top of that that said, it wasn't found on the first go. This is the estimate. Like here's an extra column saying we found a result, and this was what Gemini determined the name to be. And so there's probably ways to uh, get a more solid result from that.
Well, and I think another thing you're doing there, Liam, is you're doing a lot of AI stuff, and it's resulting in a draft email, not a sent email. So you
Yeah.
do kind of the final eyes on it. Any other questions? Yeah. The question was, is all this activity coming back to Salesforce? I'll answer part of that. I didn't know, Liam, you were having a bot update Salesforce for you. I don't know how I feel about that. But yeah, so through like Gmail and stuff, we're syncing through Outreach and Clary email activity data back into Salesforce. So that's built into an activity log on the record itself. And then, Liam, I don't know if you're syncing any other activity data back.
Yeah, so the only thing that I'm syncing to Salesforce is my management likes to make sure that we're prospecting accounts with a degree of, I guess, caution and presenting good information so that they don't ghost us. So they don't view Pattern as a company that just kind of spams messaging. And so with that, there's a field in Salesforce for us. It's basically just like notes on the activity that you've done in the last month. And so what my what I've automated is filling in that field. It does not submit anything to Salesforce without I will manually go through and click submit for all of those. But it will aggregate everything that I've done. So maybe I've called someone on my personal cell phone. That doesn't go to Salesforce, but I will log that into my Google Sheet. And so it will pull in all of the activity that I've done, whether it was already in Salesforce or not. And then it will use Gemini in this case to create a little three-sentence summary saying, this month I called this person, sent an email to this person, this is what I said. And maybe I got a reply or something. And so that little summary will be auto placed into Salesforce on a Chrome tab that the bot is operating, but it will not hit submit. I will go through and make sure that it's accurate and then just click submit. But again, all of that takes so much time and just headache to get to a point where you remember what you've done in the last month, and then you multiply that times 130 accounts, and it's procrastination could get the best of you. So that's how I avoid that.
Any other questions for Liam? Awesome. Thanks, Liam, for being here. Feel free to stay on or hop off. But we appreciate you sharing all the cool things you're doing.
Awesome. Thank you for the questions.
All right. A little bit about me. If you don't know me or haven't spoke to me for too long, it comes up quickly, sneaks up on us. John's a disc golfer. I like to throw frisbees, and I don't have anyone to throw them back. It's a sport. It's called disc golf. I do that in my spare time. That's my competitive outlet. This is my wife, Kelsey. We've been married 10 years, and I have three children. May is 6, turning 7. 6, 7. Had to sneak that in there. She's big on that right now. She's learning to ski this year. This is my son Silas. He likes to fail fast. I'll put it in a business term. He jumps off things. He's got scars all over his forehead. And this is my daughter Andy. She's 2. If she could do anything right now, she would love to work at Target. That is her. That is her muse. Okay, so how am I thinking about AI today? When I hear from Jeremy and when I see all the things Liam's doing, it's a lot. And this is kind of how I'm thinking about it. So in this blue circle here, these are my current capabilities. These are the tools I know how to use, the things I'm able to do. And I would kind of put ideas in here, right? From good to bad, from boring to exciting. These are the things I can do. And this green circle in the middle, this is what I'm doing today, right? There's various things all over this graph that are boring and good, exciting. Hopefully nothing's getting towards the bad side of, I'm sure there's plenty of things I've built that are a little bit broken, but for the most part, I think good things are happening. Here's some examples of things I could do, right? I could delete all of our data. Jordan, should I do it? Should I delete all of our data? Yes, no? Oh, yeah, we'll just reset. Okay, that would be exciting, right? And that would be bad and is outside of what I'm doing today. What else? Okay, some of the examples I'll show today would be an AI lead qualifier and an AI MQL summarizer. The lead qualifier is a little bit hidden, so I put it on the boring side. The summarizer, people actually see, so it's a little bit exciting. But why is the green circle not higher up? Why am I not doing more things that I could be doing? Well, I think there's probably some price, right? We don't purchase all the platforms or all the data or have infinite marketing budgets. So another thing we could be doing, but we're not doing today, is like a Super Bowl commercial, right? That would be good, probably. That would be very exciting. And I'm fully capable of having our design team, put together an awesome video that we could run. We're not doing it today because it doesn't make sense with our strategy. So those are just examples of some things that are outside of what we're doing today. But with AI, we're supercharged a little bit. So we get these AI superpowers, and the idea is that this would expand your current capabilities and then expand potentially what you're doing today. So some examples of these superpowers, again, I'll put Grok down here on the exciting but bad area. If you have any idea what Grok's been up to lately, figure that out on your own time. There's some gnarly stuff happening there. Some of these innate inflows that we've been showing, that's kind of our workflow tool of choice. I wouldn't say it's terribly exciting, but I would say it's very good. What else do we have here? Image generation. Okay, yeah, it seems pretty exciting. Like, it's cool. You can make videos, you can make images. You have Nano Banana and Sora and all these things popping up on your feed. A little bit of slop. I don't know how good it is yet, but it is pretty cool, pretty exciting. Notebook LM, it's kind of the opposite of image generation. It's super boring, but like very useful, right? You can point, I'll have an example of this later, but you can point basically a chatbot, Gemini, add a document, and then ask questions. Awesome. Really cool. Very, very boring. And then code generation, similar to Notebook, very useful. Generating code like Liam and Jeremy are talking about, no-code solutions. Very good, but kind of a little bit behind the scenes. So the goal is just learning more about these AI superpowers, starting to use some of them would hopefully expand your capabilities. And as your capabilities expand, you find the use cases, you build some of them, and what you're doing today grows as well. So you're asking the question, so, what do I do? I would encourage you to look around, find manual processes that could be automated or scaled with AI. I think that's what Liam's done a lot of, is like, I don't like updating Salesforce. I did the activity. Why do I need to do another activity to tell the CRM that I did the activity, right? So he's figured out a way to have a chatbot or have a script run and do that. Full disclosure, I had no idea he was using a bot to update Salesforce. So I'll need to check the accuracy of some of that. I think you can also partially automate things that can help you scale, right? So you maybe can't fully automate it, but if you can automate the middle part, that takes a lot of time, dealing with spreadsheets, grabbing data, scraping stuff, summarizing things, I think you can scale, right? Like if you're in customer success and you're meeting with clients, well, you probably can't have AI take the meeting, but you could have AI build 80% of the presentation, and then you just got 3 hours back, over the course of a week or a couple weeks. All right, what else can you do? Well, you can see what others in the space are doing. Hey, you're here. Great job. You're trying to figure out what other people are doing, right? And then can that idea be adapted for my company or my use cases? And then something I've done recently is like revisit previous requests that didn't seem possible. Jeremy talked about, fuzzy logic machines. And my kind of take on AI is they're great fuzzy logic operators, and those fuzzy logic machines are here. So what's fuzzy logic? Well, when I first got into automation and dealing with data, data's not perfect. If data was perfect, you build a filter and you run a thing and you have a reliable outcome. But when the data is not quite 100%, you have to build filters that allow for a little bit of error. Otherwise, your output's going to have a similar amount of errors. And fuzzy logic is just the idea of having an expansive filter that can account for many different variables of what you might expect on the data side. In my experience, although AI stuff is non-deterministic, you can ask the same thing twice, and get slightly different results. They're really good at kind of like taking a semi-human approach of what's the main idea I can get from this, and if the main idea passes the filter, let's pass it on. All right, so example one. So one of my use cases is a lead qualifier. So what was the problem? We were getting leads, great. Quality wasn't good, not great. So what was the problem? It was wasting sales time, going through and disqualifying low quality leads or reaching out to them, hurting metrics like conversion, MQL, quality. It was obvious when you looked at them, it's like kittens@gmail.com. It's like, well, that wasn't a good one. But it's different than the next one, which is like rob@kittens.com, right? Two very different filters if I'm trying to filter these out in Marketo. Previous fixes we tried. So we restrict forms to business emails, right? Okay, no more Gmails. Get those out of here. We went a step further than just the native Marketo checkbox, and we had a full CSV of domains that we could block as we encountered new ones that were fake. We tried to refine ad targeting. How do we target less of these people that are coming in and submitting bogus forms? And then add more required or qualifying questions to the form. So if you go on pattern.com right now and you can click contact us, the form's pretty long, and that's on purpose, right? We're trying to have less form fills of a higher quality. So we've skated that direction. But it didn't solve everything. So what I did kind of in Q4 was spin up my first innate flow that classifies inbound leads as good, okay, or bad. This is what it looks like. The actual meat is right here in the middle. So we don't have a native Marketo connection to N8N. Any Marketo users are probably not surprised that Marketo does not have a flow step for AI and does not have a native webhook built to any of these new platforms. So I had to build it myself, or I had to ask Claude to build it for me. So that's the webhook. Once the webhook shows up, it's just bringing some data from Marketo. So I have to clean up that data, right? I have to format it in a way and look at it and try to set the AI agent up for success. So when I give it a prompt, the data is reliable and it has a bit of extra stuff in there. So some things that have been built into this, which are really cool, is like a keyboard mashing detector, right? It's like a gibberish field. Did it detect gibberish in any of the form fields? Is it just a smattering of letters, or does it look like actual words? If it's just a smattering of letters, it passes that on to the AI validator as a flag to say like, well, it looks like keyboard mashing or test data was seen here. So take that into account when you're determining if it's good or bad. Then the AI gets prompted with the data, a system and a user prompt, and then it has an output, which again, we have to transform back into a script that we can send back to Marketo. At the end of it, I get a record in Marketo that now is tagged good, okay, or bad. Originally, I started with good or bad, but had to carve out this okay category because not all of our forms have the same number of fields. So the shorter forms would come through with a lot of quote unquote missing data. And then the AI would say, well, it's missing all this data, and that's a bad lead. It's not good. So I had to say, okay, if you're missing some data, but it seems legit, you can be okay. If the data is bad, you're bad. If the data is all there and good, then you're good. So that's one example. Example two is I took a similar flow, that same flow, and modified it for another use case. So has anyone had a salesperson ask, like, why did this record MQL? Show of hands. Okay, I get that all the time. So why did this record MQL? That's a question that shouldn't have to be asked, right? The other problem, this hurts our ability to have personalized follow-up. If they're asking you that question, they've thought it 100 times and not asked you, right? So they didn't know how to follow up. And then it slows down our speed to lead. If we don't know why it MQL, we don't know what to do next. Previous things I've tried is lots of trainings on like, hey, the data's right here in Salesforce. Here's how to read it and interpret it. Additional roll-up fields of like what to do next steps, prompts, those sorts of things. And then just making sure I'm getting the person in the Salesforce campaign as often as possible so they can just look at the campaign and say, oh, you're from CES. Gotcha. All right. But I found myself saying, hey, yeah, it's obvious why this person MQL'd. Look at these 10 fields and this activity and this Salesforce campaign history and piece it all together. And then I'm like, oh, well, I just asked you to do like 3 things. So maybe I can make this easier, right? Anyone else's Salesforce like contact or lead view look similar to this, right? Okay. So what if we can make this more simple? It needs to have lots of data, but it doesn't necessarily need to show all the data. We got the paths up here. We got lead information, marketing stuff, Salesforce campaign history, activity history. So this innate end flow is very similar to the last one. Webhook, transform data, AI prompt, transform data, back to Marketo. And what this one does is summarize why something MQL. So right up here at the top, when something is in the MQL stage, we just pop right at the top of the screen why it MQL'd. So I'll call this first one Rob. Rob MQL'd after attending the CES event and being scanned at the trade show, indicating direct engagement at a key industry event. Rob works at RoboRock, a North American company. There's no specific job function or stated product interest, and no additional details on their goals were shared. All right, this is good. It's not great because there wasn't a lot of information. The reason I pulled this one is it was a Mobley scan from CES like 2 weeks ago. So they scanned it. It came through as an MQL because it was tagged as like hot. And then this prompted our rep to follow up and said, hey, this was from CES, right? Was that in the campaign history? Yes. But I'm smushing it all together. This next one, let's do Jerry. So Jerry MQL following engagement with the Signals Chat Contact Us campaign via Signals Chat on the web. So this is our chat bot on the website. Jerry's a marketing lead at Jerry Associates, a company in Asia with an annual revenue under $3 million. So that's typically below the threshold for some of our products. He's interested in PXM and is exploring integration of his pod service into other e-com platforms, seeking to understand if Patch's product will meet his needs. This data is really interesting because this comes from a notes field. So they type in like, hey, what's going on? What's your project? What are you trying to help solve? Again, is that a field on the layout? Yes. But if I can smush it all in here together, it's nice. Okay, so maybe that gave you an idea, but how do we start? I'd say just start the conversation. Like Liam said, start with ChatGPT. Say, hey, is this something I can do? Or this is a problem I'm facing. This is my role at the company. What are some ways we can tackle this? So AI can brainstorm with you on what to do and how best to do it. I would say some models have expert knowledge on specific tools. So like we use N8N, Claude has expert knowledge on how to build N8N flows. And it's really cool because it can build you the flow and give you a chunk of code. You just import it into N8N and all those nodes magically appear. I would love nothing more than if Marketo could do something similar, right? Where I could export a flow and send it to someone else. Or if I could have a chatbot build the flow, and then I can just import in Marketo and all those steps there. And I'm not just dragging steps from right to left for eternity, and filling in all the fields and stuff. Jeremy did show like inside of N8N, there's a builder, right? So some tools have AI builders integrated. Zapier has like Copilot in there. It's okay. N8N has Claude or something in there. Again, it's okay. Right now, I think I feel most comfortable doing something and then importing it rather than have the AI directly manipulate it. Sometimes it can just kill your flow. So maybe duplicate it first and then mess with it. And then also the Google Suite, right? Gemini, there's the big like Gemini Diamond on all of those that you can mess with. So use AI to build AI flows. You know, it feels kind of weird. It's like, what am I doing here? I'm just like prompting. But that's what we're doing. And like Liam said, you come up with an idea, you start the build process, you import it, you run it, it fails, and then you debug it. So I'm just like copying error codes back and forth. So, hey, this threw an error, and then I paste it in the error, and it's like, oh, it's normal like chat responses, like, hey, you're a good person, I love you. Also, here's how to answer your question. And then it just gives you an updated JavaScript of like, hey, try this. And then you just take the JavaScript, plug it in, run it, and then you might get a different error, or you might get to the third node now, and then it fails. And you just kind of work your way through it. And then on the other side, you take the output of whatever happened and you run with it there. I had a funny bug, which took me forever to squash, with, I think it was the MQL summarizer. Everything going into the chatbot was working, but on the way out, I kept getting weird errors. And it was like, I don't know, when the script would make the JSON and then when that would shoot back to Marketo, sometimes the data just wouldn't show up. And it was very hard for me and Claude to figure out what was happening. Eventually, we discovered that I did not tell it the field name that it was supposed to be populated in. So I was like chasing that rabbit of like, oh, it put the data in this field. So I need to make sure that that field is part of the webhook. But it was just making up fields, right? It was like one time it was MQL summary, and then next time it was marketing qualified lead summary, right? And so it was like taking the data, but I hadn't been explicit enough on where to put that data. And since it's non-deterministic, it was slightly different each time. So little things like that, you still need a bit of a human person to like look at it, or jump into the Marketo forums of like, oh, it's telling you to build the webhook this way, but you actually do need commas or don't need commas with the Marketo tokens, right? So there's still a little bit you have to do some reasoning with, but something like this, I built it in one day. So I probably spent 5-6 hours over the course of the day going back and forth with Claude. It ended up being about 1,500 lines of code, and I didn't write any of them, right? I just asked a lot of questions, did a lot of import, export, copy, pasting, and then just sending test records through Marketo. All right. Well, what if you say, hey, that's cool, N8N sweet, Claude code seems nice, but my company doesn't pay for fancy tools. Here's some things you can just do with ChatGPT, or probably your chatbot that you have access to. The first one is projects. Are anybody using ChatGPT projects? Show of hands. A couple of people. What's cool about projects is they remember the rules that you set. So like if you import brand guidelines or style guides, every time you go back to it and it's like, write me another email, but about this topic, it remembers all of those rules. You don't have to have a super prompt because you're like operating inside of an environment. And then recently you're able to share those with coworkers. So me and Jordan have been playing with that of like, hey, let me share this project with you. Let's build a revamped like lead scoring thing, but together sort of with AI. Connected apps are really cool. So you can dig through contacts, emails, calendar, and Drive. You can connect all of those things to ChatGPT. And then you can set up automations like what emails need a response in my inbox, right? So Liam has been doing a lot of that within N8N, but you can connect it directly to ChatGPT and do that sort of stuff too. Here's a funny one that I had. So I went to the Music City Bowl over Christmas break back in Nashville, and I'm cheap, so I didn't want to just buy tickets. I wanted to buy the best tickets, right? And I wanted to buy them when they got the cheapest. So I had ChatGPT go check kind of average and then like the lowest advertised resale price of tickets for the Music City Bowl. I'm a Tennessee Vols fan. Spoiler, we lost. Very sad. But you can see I was okay not buying tickets because I saw the prices weren't necessarily going up. I thought, hey, they might go up. Tennessee's playing in Nashville. I don't know. But then they started to go down, so I started to wait. And then we had this huge drop off, and then ended up getting tickets much closer to game day. Any guesses as to why the ticket prices dropped? Don't make fun of Tennessee. Any guesses? On who? On Grok? No, Grok did not impact the price of tickets. So I'll give you a hint. This was like 7 to 10 days out from game day. Any ideas? If you're going on a trip in 7 to 10 days, or you're going skiing in 7 to 10 days, what do you typically start to check? The weather. So the weather report came out, and up till 2 days before the game, it was highs of 60s and 70s, right? So you'd think that would continue. Nope. Fell off a cliff. The high at game time was 22 degrees. It was terribly cold, right? So I saw that trend and I'm like, oh no, what happened? Did somebody opt out of the game, right? Is a player not playing? Why did the tickets drop? It's like, no, the weather report came out and it's going to be freezing cold and it's a night game. So just things like that you can do with ChatGPT. Other things, Notebook LM, mentioned it earlier. So I went through an exercise at the end of last year, kind of assembling all of our processes into a big marketing handbook. That's great. No one's probably going to ever read it. But I can point Notebook LM at that document and we can ask it questions. So I can have my team say like, hey, how do I create a webinar at Pattern? Right? So it goes through like 10 different sections of that document. And it's like, well, you should start with a marketing ops ticket. And then we use Zoom events to actually run the webinar. For tracking in Salesforce, you need a Salesforce campaign. Here's a link to the campaign name generator. This would be a parent campaign. If you're promoting it, you should create some child campaigns. And then it goes in and talk about like strategically, how would we fit this webinar into our other things, and then lead scoring and MQLing as implications down there too. So very cool. It's been a fun thing. I kind of always thought Notebook LM was just like podcasts of things. But you can just point it at pieces of literature that are written or whatever, and ask it questions or build like flashcards. It's really, really cool. All right. So in summary, like Jeremy said, be an orchestrator. I think a lot of us are individual contributors. And if we can kind of progress to orchestrating some of these different AI flows and chatbots and things, we can really scale and expand the amount that we can output. Point two, I'd just say start somewhere. Start a conversation. Carve out 3 or 4 hours and just say, okay, I'm going to see how far I can get on this. We've had designers build entire like web design tools that we're using to then generate all of these assets for upcoming conferences and stuff. Like it's progressed to the point of if a tool doesn't exist, you can build an application for your specific use case to get exactly what you want, which is incredible. And then finally, just use AI to build AI workflows. So Claude Code has been awesome. Sometimes it's frustrating. Sometimes you kind of got to nuke it and start over, but you can get really far in a few hours. All right, that's the end. That's all I got. So with that, any questions, any use cases you guys would like to share, or any walls you've been banging your head against that we can try to figure out together? Yes. How do we deal with privacy concerns? Great question. A bad answer would be just send it. If you come up with a skill, somebody else might hire you to do that thing. No, at Pattern we're pretty AI forward, so we have a lot of that stuff connected. We have internal. So I've been using Claude through we have an internal chat access portal, so I can go to a website which is plugged into all of the chat bots that Pattern pays for. And I can kind of have unlimited Claude searches and stuff like that. It's also connected, like Liam showed, to some of our backend first-party data, which we can query. So that's really cool. I would say you would have to prove out the value of it. And if the value exceeds the risk, the conversation would be different. And maybe that's hard. Maybe it's hard to prove it out without the actual data. I think chat can help you generate test data pretty easily. Chat can also help you come up with a presentation on why you should be able to do this thing at your company. But yeah, I think the stigma around AI is changing pretty quickly, and it's going from something that's hallucinates all the time to something that's very valuable if you can put some guardrails on it. Because I don't know, I have a buddy who started a company that personalizes every email that's sent out of Marketo or HubSpot. And he's like, well, look at the click-through rates and look at the open rates. They're so great. But I can't see the messaging that's on every email that's coming from my system. And that's weird, right? I don't know if I trust that. I don't know if I can get an executive to trust that. What if it says something crazy? And so I think there's a balance there. Like, how do we test it to the point of trusting it? How do we put things in draft status, not fully publish them? Can it automate us to 80% and save a bunch of time? But yeah, I think that's a hard one. Do you have a question? Anybody else? Anybody else have a use case they'd like to share or something they've been thinking about? Absolutely. Yeah, I think using AI to come up with prompts or figuring out ways. I had an interesting one the other day. So I was generating this image, obviously with ChatGPT. I didn't make it. But it was doing some crazy stuff. Like, it just made up the Marketo logo, and it got the ChatGPT logo wrong. And I'm like, come on, dude. Like, look around, read the room. And so I tried, like, okay, it was close, but you missed on the logo. So I uploaded the logos, and it got way worse. And I was just struggling with it. So I said, okay, let's start over. Here's the parameters again. Here's the logos as PNGs. They're transparent backgrounds. Just order them like this. But before you make the image, I want you to ask me 3 clarifying questions, right? And so then it came back to me and said, okay, these are the things that you didn't tell me about. Can you give me more information on the dimensions? How do you want them laid out? Do you want them vertically stacked for the square one, or still be horizontal like for the landscape one? And that was really cool. I just told it, like, hey, here's what I want you to do, but wait, don't do it yet. Let's try to nail down all the nitty gritty details, because obviously once you make the image, editing it is just, we're going down the wrong way. So that was an interesting one. But yes, I did not make that image. Yep. So using MCPs to give context to, so is that like first party data or what?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're using ChatGPT as a front end, and then you have some Marketo data that it can access on the back end. That is really cool. I think you should talk to Sam. Sam's been doing some really cool stuff with that over the past year or two. Anybody else? Any questions? Any other thoughts or brainstorms? Okay. Yeah, Blake? Cool. Nice. So that's a plug for open source Marketo MCP. I know nothing about that. I'll look into it. Jesse, do you have anything? Or do giveaway stuff?
We can do that.
So for the recording, Jesse was saying different chat platforms have different specialties. So bounce around or have one help you with the other. All right. Do you guys want to come back up and we'll do giveaway and then we'll end the user group officially, but anybody's welcome to hang out, have some snacks. I'd love to meet you if I haven't yet.